And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became dazzling white.
Christ himself begins to shine, and his clothes glow as if a veil has been raised on an unseen glory. In this light, the face and clothes of Jesus gleam with the favor of God. He's not in this moment the one who's despised and rejected by the world, but the one beloved and well-pleasing to God. No matter what lies ahead, no matter what the disciples are about to witness and experience, this glimpse is something so powerful they can hold on to it, and the truth it imparts about the identity of this one that they follow. Look, this Jesus of splendor is who he really is.
You are our dawn and our light, O Christ. Fill us with the light of your love.
And Jesus invites us to turn our eyes to him. Will you join in singing number 349? Turn your eyes upon
Suddenly there appeared to them Moses and Elijah talking with them.
So now, here we have Jesus illuminated, transfigured in light. And now a stranger sight, Moses and Elijah speaking to Jesus as a friend. A pulling back, if you will, of the curtains of time that show that Jesus is continuous, that our story moves across Old Testament to New, with all that God has promised and given in the law and in the prophets. We may not get this dramatic visual confirmation that Peter got, proclaiming Jesus as the Son of the living God, but we have glimpses here and there, now and then, through our lives. If you think about it, it might be kind of tough to have that bright of a light right in front of us all the time, but that snapshot, that one moment, is enough sometimes to hold in our hearts and help us through and go back to and sit in when things get tough. I can remember a time in my life when I was in the middle of a divorce and I was single parenting and commuting an hour each way to go to work and had a 7-year-old son and thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? And is this all there is? I was going to counseling, and I can remember driving to see her with that sitting in my heart when suddenly there was just this moment. Didn't ask for anything, I just asked the question. Gotta watch what you ask for because God will answer. In marvelous ways, there was just that moment, like a little widening of a window, and something beautiful there. And then, as though a lens was being opened a little bit wider still, and what I could see, what I remember was this impression of a beautiful valley amongst beautiful mountains of bright blue sky and a feeling of love. And it was over just like that. Perhaps you've had moments like that too. I can tell you that for me, and that was now 25 years ago, and I still remember it, I can still see that vision that was just a peak. And in that moment said, it's not all there is. It's going to be okay. I wonder if that was a part of what they felt, those 3 disciples in that moment, looking at the history, those that they had heard stories about for all of their lives in Moses and Elijah, now come together with Jesus directly in front of them. And a level of connectedness that said, oh my gosh, how amazing is this? Fulfill your word in us, not by mere obedience or prophecy,
knowledge or lawfulness, but in love.
Then Peter said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will make 3 dwellings here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah.
So here they are. And can you imagine our human nature might, if I were Peter, I might say, well, all right, this is a little more like it. I can see them all here. I can do something to capture this memory. I can build a place we can sit and talk to one another. It's our human nature, I think, to want to capture something that special, to build a story around it, to hold on to it, to grab it so it won't go away because those moments are so special and so fleeting that we make that attempt. And so very practically, Peter looks at the situation and with this overwhelming sense of spirituality and awe, does what he knows he can do in his context on this earthly plane and what we might see to do too. Let me build something.
Save us, O God, from our temptation to capture and control our lives, your gifts, and even you. Give us grace to be alive in this present moment.
While he was still speaking, suddenly a bright cloud overshadowed them.
O loving mystery, overcome our knowledge with wonder, that in a cloud of unknowing we may love you.
And from the cloud a voice said, This is my Son, the Beloved. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him.
And then the vision is done. Peter's offer to build something is still on his lips when this bright cloud envelops all of them, and the voice from within it speaks words similar to those we remember from Jesus' baptism. This is my Son, the Beloved. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him. That word overshadow comes from the Greek word episteo. It's the same word that appears when Gabriel is speaking to Mary, and Mary asks him, how will it be possible that I could carry a child as you asked me to? And Gabriel says, the Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Why emphasize that overshadowing? Because these are the only 2 times in the gospel where that particular word occurs. There's a connection, perhaps, between that Annunciation of Mary and today's Transfiguration of Christ. A resonance between those stories that reminds us that we can't contain God, that God will show up when God chooses to, and often in human form, in a relational form. And if there's a dwelling to be built, that the architecture of that will be us, the temple that is us, a habitation of love that is us, that is holy. Looking at these words one more time and listening to them again, it's important to notice that there's an additional piece. The words that God speaks when Jesus is baptized are, this is my Son, the Beloved, with him I am well pleased, and today, 3 more words. Listen to him. When you call us to follow in the way of the cross, help us listen. In every moment of our lives, help us listen.
When the disciples heard this, they fell to the ground and were overcome by fear.
They threw themselves to the ground and their faces were in the dirt. Can you imagine? Imagine being there, where they go to a mountaintop with Christ, and suddenly Christ is illumined, joined by Moses and Elijah, all this bright light, a cloud that speaks to them, and God's voice. I'd probably hit the ground too, with the idea that it was more than I could take in, and that there was some need to just hold. Just hold. Have you ever felt like that, where all you want to do is lock your eyes and close your ears and say, enough, enough, enough. I don't know what to do with this information. We confess our fear of the unknown, fear of lighting us, fear of your grace and your presence that overwhelms us.
But Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Get up and do not be afraid."
It seems to me that when Jesus told the disciples to get up and do not be afraid, he was saying to them and to all of us who would follow that part of having faith is the courage to just keep going, even when we're not certain, even when we're confused, even when we're scared beyond all imagining. And all of us have those moments, those times where it took everything we had to move through something, to move through the fears that we hold, fear of failing, fear of death, fear of illness, fear of succeeding, fear of whatever that is in your life in these moments today. Perhaps even fear of failing God. Help us always to know your touch, to hear your voice. You are my beloved. Do not be afraid. You are my beloved. Do not be afraid. That's God speaking to us in the form of Christ, reaching out a hand on a mountaintop in a church from one voice to another. A gathering together, a sense of understanding that we are all God's beloved, that in God we have no need to be afraid, that when we're up against it, our prayer, that snapshot moment we might hold in our heart that tells us there's more than we can see in the moment, and the love and surrounding and relationship of friends and community that holds us together. It's not easy being that temple, that architectural structure of the holy that sits inside of us. God knows. But there's always this assurance. Do not be afraid. Why? Because the ground we stand on, the places we hold are holy. Will you join in singing number 2272?
When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus himself alone.
Our visions are not of the world, but this one. Open our eyes to see you in our daily lives.
Will you join in singing number 328?
Sure.
As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus ordered them, "Tell no one about the vision until after the human one has been raised from the dead."
Help us proclaim our faith, not in triumphal self-confidence, but in humbly following the way of the cross, trusting in resurrection. Hallelujah.
So here they are, that mountaintop. They weren't able to build any structures there. And I wonder if Jesus just anticipated, again, in our humanness, that we would want to look for some way to capture the story, to tell it forward, to keep it alive, to let people know what we've seen and felt and heard. But sometimes the timing isn't right. Sometimes it might sound so unbelievable that the beauty and the amazement and the awe of the story would be lost in the telling. He urges them to wait until after his resurrection, something they're still not quite envisioning in their space and time. To conceal until the fullness of time what this looked like in the affirmation of Christ in more ways than they could imagine. What really happened on that mountain? We don't actually know in words because Jesus asked them not to tell. We know just this telling all these years later. We know that they had this bright and shining experience, this moment, this snapshot with Christ, and we know that we have moments like that too. A hint of something to come, of something yet to be, whether it's in a scripture we read, in a moment of seeing eagles when we're out walking, or seals in the river, or waves crashing on a shore, or the smile of an old friend. Those mountaintop experiences can occur anywhere. If they can occurred in series over and over and over again, we'd have no sense of what it means to come back down. But in truth, the living that we do, the life that we lead, is not on the mountaintop. It's here. It's right here. We carry that experience, that motion, that notion that Christ is with us because we know it to be true. Sometimes dramatic things make a difference in how we hold on to that information and how we understand what it means to be transformed and transfigured in something more. There's a part of the story that echoes things that, for those of you who've been with us for the last few weeks looking at the Sermon on the Mount, comes alive. This idea that it's a step-by-step process, that there's no sudden motion that says, and there you are, you've arrived, you're transfigured. Christ has that moment and shows us what's to come and what we're working for, but in the moment, what we do is accept God's grace and come and worship and read the Bible and pray and live out our lives as Christ would have us live them, those living temples of God, in such a way that as we continue to live and step deeper in and spread wider, we have the opportunity to become the mountaintop for someone else, or certainly step along the way and grow in our faith in such a way that ultimately we come to a place of transformation, of transfiguration, like Christ, in Christ. Perhaps not on this earthly plane, but that's where we're at. That's where we're going. That's the journey. And that journey up the mountain and down with Christ for those three disciples echoes that a little bit. We trust in that as we walk in our ordinary lives and look for the extraordinary things that happen in the small things that we see, in the small gestures that we do, in the joy of a 90th birthday, of family being present, the simply gathering and seeing folks we haven't seen in a while. All these small things added to that day-to-day experience of joy and change that comes to us and holds us in moments when we don't know where to go. That transfiguration moment was offered to Peter, James, and John as a certainty, an affirmation that said, I am who you believe I am. And they would go down the mountain and fumble their way, just as we do. From that moment to Jesus' death and resurrection and beyond. It's our life story, this going up and coming down, this taking a look, this grabbing in, taking it back with us, and then things settle until we find ourselves journeying and walking back up to a place where there's some kind of revelation that comes our way that encourages us, that reminds us that God is with us, that we are that temple, that inside that stunning light lives and grows and comes into being as we do as the disciples did and live our lives and learn and grow. The theme of Epiphany, this ending of the season, it's fitting that it would end with this massive light on a mountaintop. What we have is God's Word as our light, as our lamp, as we continue forward. Will you join me in singing 601?